Welcome to the Share the Wealth Show, where minority professionals can learn to escape the racial wealth gap and catapult themselves into abundance. Your host, Nicole Pendergrass, grew her net worth from being negative to multiple six figures. Join her on her investigative mission to expose secret strategies of the wealthy so we can all have the tools needed to build the life and legacy we were created to possess. Now it's time for the show.
Welcome back to the Share the Wealth Show, where we uncover unconventional strategies to build, grow, and protect minority wealth. Today's episode is actually all about alternative rental strategies. These are creative ways investors are cash flowing beyond traditional rentals, from group homes to short-term rentals, transitional housing to senior living. These models aren't just profitable, they're purpose-driven. So you're going to hear from Carlene Cadet Francois on senior living and how to structure assisted living facilities as cash flowing businesses. Tyrell Taylor and Brianna Mulzak on building a car sharing and short-term rental empires, even with regulation hurdles and the craziness happening in New York City. Standis Rump on converting old motels into Medicaid-backed mental wellness housing. Donnice Webb on group homes subject to deals and turning tax deed lots into high-yield rentals. Each clip is going to answer real questions that investors face, from how to finance creatively, how to pivot when laws change, how to maximize income with purpose. So if you're looking to diversify your real estate game and tap into recession-resistant, high-demand niches, then this mashup episode is for you. So let's dive in. This is the Share the Wealth Show, where financial empowerment begins. How did you go from the idea of senior housing to actually launching your first assisted living facility?
I'm a real estate investor, and so I had a property that I was going to put into the market as a rental property, and I decided to flip that property into an assisted living. And since leaving the sheriff's office, I've been managing my assisted living, teaching people how to open and writing books and doing all kind of good stuff. So that's all I'm doing now.
Okay, how long were working in the police department, the sheriff's office, before you left?
So I was there for 10 years. So I did my due diligence. And while I was there, I think it was God that was leading me, because
Mhm.
looking back, I didn't know anybody that wanted to do the things that I wanted to do. And I didn't know how to find the answers to these ideas in these questions that I had in my mind. I think it was God leading me on. And I started searching, Googling stuff, and find YouTube, and all kind of resources came my way online. And then I started paying for coaching. Ultimately, I ended up using my W-2 income to help me buy multifamily income properties. And with that, and my husband is on board also as my support system. And so, I'm not taking all the credit. It's not just me, if anybody's listening to this out there. But using my W-2 income and having these income properties allowed me to retire early. And that's how I got into assisted living. My mom was already in the industry. She did that while I was in high school. When I was in college, that's all she did. And that's how the idea of assisted living came about. And I ended up opening one.
What exactly is a residential assisted living home, and how does it operate? And who is an ideal resident for an ALF home?
So residential assisted living is pretty much a single family dwelling that is converted and is licensed as an assisted living. Compared to a larger assisted living, we're not allowed to have signs. So we look like any other single family home down the street. There is no sign. There isn't anything that would indicate that this is an assisted living. It's just like every other house in the neighborhood. But we are licensed just like the big assisted livings. We
Mhm.
are governed by the same state statutes. The same inspectors come to inspect, the big or small facilities. This is only the difference. And residential assisted living provide a more one-on-one care type focused. We're able to cater more to your loved one if they need more assistance with activities of daily living. If they need help with feeding, eating, medications is a big one. We're more able to give the more one-on-one care type focus, whereas the bigger assisted living, they're more focused for people who are more active and they want to just enjoy life. They don't want the responsibilities of cooking and cleaning, and they want to have professionals to look over them, but they don't really need care per se. And they would go to a bigger assisted living, and their focus would be more on activities and things like that.
Okay. So with assisted living, who is your tenant type?
My tenant type are elderly people who needs help. They either have, let's say, for example, dementia. They may have had a fall and they're not able to take care of themselves. They may have other issues like they can't do much for themselves. They need somebody to take them a bath. They need somebody to cook for them. They need somebody to remind them about their medications, someone to call the doctor for them. Whatever need that they have, we make sure we activate the proper resources, because the doctors, the nurses, the podiatrists, the dietitian, everyone still comes in to provide the level of care that they need. And I don't have to pay those people. All I need to do is make sure that me and my staff alert these resources for our seniors when we see that they need it or the families see that they need it.
What's the typical monthly income per room in ALF? And what key expenses should operators plan for?
I will say like this, because I've had, for example, some of my students, once you give them a number, they hold on to that. I will say, if you start an assisted living per room right now in Florida, that room should be making you around $6,500 at the lowest per month, and up to $8,000 at the highest per month. Now, depending on your facility and where you're located and how you structure your show, you can even have it a little higher than that. But this is the average. So imagine if you have 4 rooms, that's how much you're making. Now, keep in mind, some of the money that you're making, your biggest expense is your staff. And so being able, like say me, for example, I could have made more if I decided to be a caregiver, but I value my time more and I have other income streams. And so to me, time is more important to me. So I choose to pay my staff and get what I get after my expenses. So there are also a lot of little things that will take away some of, the expenses you have to pay for inspections, liability insurance, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, if a room is giving you, let's say, 6,500 at the lowest, 7,000 is ideal. Whether you
Mhm.
put 2 people or 1 person, you do the math. If zoning tells you in a residential area you can have 12 people, you can have 6 people, you can have 8 people. So you do the math, and then you get to see how much you will be able to make. I also have a guide on my website, carlinecadetfrancois.com. It answers a lot of these questions, and
Mhm.
it gives you an idea of, what you should look into, what you can consider, things you probably never thought about. And for me, it is more of a giving back, like you said, but being able to maintain my freedom. I love our seniors. I love the fact that they paved the way. Even someone like me, I came from deep poverty. Up until today, I'm still, the first in the family, will not be the last, because there are others coming like me, and they are tigers. They about to go get it. And, it's like you have choices. And I have a lot of caregivers that wants to open assisted living, but then they don't have enough income. So I say to them, why don't you joint venture with another caregiver, team up, put your money together, and, perhaps you can work there. Now you created your own income with all these job losses that's going on. At least you know, your job is secure pretty much. All you need to do is find residents, which is not hard. You could go to the churches. I give ideas and tips on that guide also, of how you can find residents, go to the churches, work with placement agents, how you find staff. You go on Indeed, you go to the churches, you let people know what you do and why you do it, and you'll find the resources that you need.
Looking to build wealth with real estate? Are you all tapped out on YouTube University and ready to get help tailored to your specific situation and goals? Have you always known that you are a little different from the crowd, that you never liked following the status quo, and that you're just tired of living in mediocrity? You want to build wealth on your own terms outside of Wall Street? Well, then maybe the Microfamily Mavericks mentorship program can help with that. It's a community where I handhold you through the process of buying your first small commercial multifamily building, because not everyone is ready for 100 units out the gate. Why multifamily? Because it gives your rental income a hedge against vacancy. Imagine what happens when your single family rental tenant leaves, right? And why commercial 5+ units? Because you have much more control over increasing the building's value in the commercial space, and then in turn, increasing your own net worth. Starting small is a stepping stone to so much more, because then you can tap that equity and buy another building and another and another, and you get the point. So increasing your cash flow and your ability to be job optional along the way. It's all a part of the journey. So if you think big, but you want to start small, and if you know multifamily real estate is a way for you to open the door to building a life of freedom, abundance, and legacy, but you just need someone to guide you step by step, and you want to be surrounded by other people on the same journey, doing the same thing, then just click the link in the show notes to find out a little bit more about the Microfamily Mavericks, and I look forward to potentially seeing you on the inside. So now back to the show. All right, so how do you successfully navigate converting a traditional rental into a short-term or mid-term rental?
I had acquired a 8-unit building, and I managed that building, turn it over into student housing. We were renovating like Tyrell and I were going in there, renovating all the rooms. We sat down with the property owner, and it was up. Oh yeah, like medical. It's a housing for medical professionals, travelers, students, all that good stuff. But yeah, so basically, we have the rights in the master lease for all the rooms, and
tell me, how did you had a master lease for an 8-bedroom building?
Yes.
Right? Is that what it is? And how was it, 2 or 3 units?
It's 3 units.
Okay.
3 bedrooms, 1 bath is 1 unit, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath is 2nd unit, and then 2 bed, 1 bath is the 3rd unit, and all 8 rooms. 8 rooms.
Okay. And 8 rooms total. And how did you find the owner of the building?
So a friend that knew that I was doing Airbnb here in Brooklyn and all that stuff, they came by to my Airbnb one day, and just kind of like seeing what was going on and stuff like that. And they mentioned that their mother also has a unit, and she's getting older, and she didn't really want to do the day-to-day operations and work with tenants and stuff like that, and going up and down steps, and she really wanted somebody to step in, and that person thought I was a good fit. And so I ended up setting up a meeting with his mom, and we had about like 3 meetings, combing out like our agreement, and went over a contract as well, and came up with like a monthly payment for what she would get paid if I'm going to come in and take over all the rooms and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I found her. So it was through a referral basically, and yeah, we were able to turn her place over since August, and now we've pretty much.
So how much did you put into, you said you went into the rooms to turn the rooms. Did you have to do any major renovations to upgrade the rooms to a standard where you could get people coming in for room rentals?
Yeah, so when people want to work with the management company, want to work with our management company, our undeniable deal is that we'll come in and renovate the rooms, renovate the place for you. Basically, small renovations, interior design, where we're investing in the place. So ultimately, I think I invested about $10,000 renovating all the rooms, and bringing them up to standard where they'll be competitive on the market and competitive on the platform of Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, all TripAdvisor, all these platforms, and the place really needed it. It was very, I want to say not dilapidated, but just old, like it just needed a lot of TLC, and a lot of renovations, painting, new electrical work, different things like that. So yeah, we invested in the rooms and turned it over, and there's a complete before and after of the rooms now. And yeah, so we agreed to that, and then
we put it on the platform.
Yeah, then we put it on the platform, and we upcharge, of course. So I mean, not upcharge, but just charge what it's worth at this point.
How can an operator ensure they have full control in a master lease agreement so they don't lose money because of an owner's poor decision?
But yeah, so basically, we have the rights in the master lease for all the rooms, and there were some long-term tenants in there. And so the one in particular, Tyrell and I, we wanted to give them their 30-day notice when it was a great time to, and they didn't have like any kind of renewal, and we wanted to be able to get them out and renovate that room so we can start like have the whole floor to ourselves. We have 2 floors to ourselves, but just that one tenant is still in there, so we're still waiting because this is the just trying to save the property owner, trying to clench pennies, but trying to, what
save.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with that instance, she was really afraid of losing money for this winter months. She wasn't confident that we would book out the rooms, and she was like, "No, I want him to stay. I'm gonna renew." And like Tyrell and I, we're trying to get in there and renovate this so we can have our operation up and running, and also doing it before winter because we don't want to be doing all this kind of construction stuff during the winter. So anyways, that tenant is there still, and he ended up stop paying her rent. So now it's become like, and also that tenant made us lose money because I guess they were smoking, and our tenant who was booked on the floor, a student who was there, a medical student who was booked for 3 months, ended up wanting to leave after 2 weeks because that long-term tenant that the owner had was there. The owner had there was like smoking or something like that, just doing things that our operation doesn't allow. And it was just 2 different groups of people, and the demographic of people that we bring into the space is different from the other people that I guess someone else or the property owner brings in. It helped, it made us lose money, and it also it hurt her in a way too, because now that person isn't paying, still to this day hasn't paid, and we lost out on like a solid 3 months of having somebody in there. We've got other people in there now, thankfully, because somebody else ended up booking. But I mean, that was a stable, consistent, okay, we have this whole thing booked from now until 2024. So now she's losing money when we wanted to actually, do what we do and run our operation, and kind of dragging us into that.
Our turnover in terms of like if we have a room and we need to fix it up and get it listed, it's about 4 days max. And it could take 2 days. It really just depends on how much stuff we have to order for that room.
Yeah.
But it normally takes about 2 to 4 days to turn a room over, and we wanted her to give us a week to turn over the room, but that would require her to lose a percentage of rent. Or at the time, it was like 1 month of rent. But now, she wishes she took that chance and lost 1 month of rent. And even at the time, we didn't come up with the solution of having a prorate. So even if we got the room booked within that month that we chose to change it, we'd still pay her a prorate. But because she was so fixated on not losing that tenant for that 1 month of rent,
Yeah.
she now has lost about 3 months of rent.
Yeah.
And
Oh, so why did he stop paying? Because of the short-term renters coming in?
they got into a little dispute, and
Yeah.
we only handle our tenants in the building.
Yeah.
We don't handle the tenants she's been dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can get your tenants out, and then all the tenants in the building would be our responsibility. But if you choose to leave your tenants in there, they will be your responsibility.
Yeah.
And so she wanted to keep them in. Now she's not getting paid for that room, and she can't kick them out due to New York State laws. And
That person's lease is almost up, so
Yeah.
thankfully we'll be able to get in there. And I have a full lease on all the rooms. So once the agreement they have with the together, the landlord and the her tenant, once that's over, I can step in because it's technically like I have a lease and I pay the full rent for the whole building.
The
So
whole
now
building.
my space, now you're technically like trespassing at this point.
Yeah. If local laws suddenly ban a rental model, how should an investor pivot their strategy or market to keep growing?
We're doing monthly here because due to the New York City laws and regulations, all the changes that they've made, I have a registration number for one short-term rental. So that already is, its own thing. So I had no choice but to take the midterm rental route here in New York, which also kind of what's motivates me to pivot to another state or another area, maybe another country as well. Yeah, so we do the midterm rentals and people booking monthly, 30 days or more.
I love that there are all these various like aspects of your income streams and how you guys are working together and growing and building. Where are you looking to go? What is the future of Mosaic Rentals? Where's that going? How do you see your partnership expanding? What's the big goal for like ultimate, like where you really want to be? Maybe 10 years. I hate that country. It's so hard to see what you're going to be in 10 years. But then also like what's like kind of your next step over the next few years? What do you want to see your business be at in growth?
Yes, so domestically, growth wise, the two states that I'm looking at would be Texas and Florida, Fort Lauderdale in particular for Florida, and then Austin or Houston for Texas. And I see that there's a lot of growth with Airbnbs in those areas compared to the rules and regulations here in New York. Out of the country, the two places I'm really looking at are Dubai and St. Vincent. St. Vincent, well, I'll start with Dubai. Dubai, because Dubai, I love the business model that they have in Dubai. As far as what you make over there, you keep, there's no taxes. They're very pro entrepreneur spirit. And they're also really advocating for Airbnb hosts to come over there to help add to their tourist their tourist 10-year plan as well. So that's something that really sparked my interest. And even when it comes to buying property in Dubai, all you need is the current bill of where you're currently living now, your passport, and there was like one other thing, and no credit score is not even a thing. So it's 3 solid documents. It's just your passport, a bill that states where you currently live, and I believe it's your birth certificate. So just those 3 things, and 20% down. So that's really I think they're making it easier to really pursue entrepreneurship. You're able to keep everything you make, and it's just a different, it just music to my ears compared to what over here.
Are you enjoying this episode? Then stop what you're doing right now. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It really helps our show get pushed to more people who are looking for the information that we're sharing here. We have to share the wealth. If you listen to us on YouTube, make sure you like the episode that you're listening to right now and subscribe to our channel. Then share the channel with somebody else. There are people out there looking for the information you're listening to right now. So make sure you share it with someone who you know needs it. Now, back to the show. How is a micro motel purchased using seller financing? And what lessons came from negotiating the down payment, interest rate, and extension terms?
So I purchased a property for 435, and I did, like I said, owner financing. I had 2.5 years to get traditional financing with a 6-month extension if I needed it. That was kind of already factored in. The 6-month extension was going to be contingent upon if they wanted to grant it. So that would be based on had I been making payments on time like I should have, had I been actively working on getting it done, those kind of things. I had a 6% interest rate, which was okay for 2020. It's not the best, not the worst. And I did $75,000 down. Yep. So about 20% down. Now, I would say in hindsight, I could have did a lot less down because
Mhm.
they were very open. That's the thing about seller financing, is that she didn't want the property. Like, she could care less. And because it had been closed down, no one was like, she didn't have buyers just jumping at her, right? And so as it was my first intro into seller financing, I was thinking I needed to be a little more traditional. I tried to be a little aggressive, but in hindsight, she would have taken 50,000, and she probably would have did a 5.5 interest rate had I pushed a little harder. So those are things that I learned the hard way, but we got the deal done. Those are numbers that were comfortable for me. And I did end up needing the 6 months because one thing about unbranded motels is no one likes them when it comes to refinancing. So that is something to know. But a lot of people liked my strategy. So that was the thing that I did not use initially when I was going to refi. I wasn't explaining that I don't really use it as a motel. I use it as a shelter essentially, and I house my individuals. So my mental health agency has been able to profit significantly. I was able to triple my numbers on my business because of it, because I'm able to provide services and I know where they are because they're my properties. So once
Yeah.
was the discussion, then it was a no-brainer. It was fine.
How can a small motel be turned into transitional housing that generates cash flow through Medicaid payments and housing vouchers?
So yes, it started out really rough in the end, but it ended up working out really, really well. So because I entered in with such a low price point with 435, we were able to essentially, I opened up a nonprofit organization called Kennedy's Quest, which we do house the homeless through that. And it makes it a little easier to do it that way. Just because I do have a motel, so you can't just, let people stay there for free. So long story short, my company, Benevolent Family Services, we get individuals directly from the hospital 90% of the time. So the hospital will call us and say, hey, this individual was hospitalized due to suicidal ideations or homicidal ideations, typically, maybe some mania. They're ready to be discharged, but they are not safe or stable enough to be in the community by themselves or to return home. So the nonprofit side will do a screening on them and say, are you safe? Do you have any type of background that would make it difficult for you to, cohabitate with others? Is your mania, whatever the case may be, to where it needs to be? So do the screening, and if they are approved for it, which most of the individuals are, then they'll be able to get a voucher, and then the voucher will allow for them to stay at the hotel. And then once they stay at the hotel, we're able to provide our counseling and crisis services to them. So they're able to get housing, food, connections to the community. So social services, we make sure that they have their benefits established. By the time they're done, they should, with us, which we get a very small window, we get about 10 days to work with them. They should be able to have at least their SNAP benefits, which is like food stamps, and their ID cards, and at least on a housing list for either Section 8 or something like that, and connection to mental health resources. If it's not with us,
Okay.
then somewhere else.
Okay. All right. So I'm putting this together in my head, make sure I have the idea of what's going on. So once they get to you, you have 10 days. That 10 days, so it's basically transitional housing. Is that, and so they have to be out of your facility in 10 days, or they just have
Normally
to
we
have those
give
days
people a
lined
couple
up?
days. Yeah, so normally we give people about 2 weeks just because, people need a little bit of time to settle. So once our services ends, they still have a little bit of time to coordinate care, because it's not a perfect transition. We're not going to just put somebody out.
What issues can come up when rehabbing an older motel with a tight budget, and how do unreliable contractors affect that timeline?
So I So I will say I don't have a background in real estate in any way, shape, or form other than purchasing and rehabbing my own small single family homes, right? And so I had done like a flip or two, but nothing to this caliber. And so instead of getting a property manager and things of that nature, because I had such a small budget, I couldn't really afford to get, do it the right way, even though you're going to pay for it in the end. I took on a lot of the projects myself, right? So I did a lot of the research. I knew what I needed to do. I got all my estimates and everything. But because of COVID, everyone was busy. You couldn't get the good contractors. The good contractors were already booked for months and months in advance. Yet I'm on a timeline, right? Like I have 2 years to start making money so that I can present this. So I couldn't wait. I had to take the people that were available, and the people that were available were awful. So I spent a lot of time and money chasing people, basically. So I would say to anyone, like, do your homework, know your limits, know what's in your wheelhouse, right? It's like, if this is not your wheelhouse, don't do it, because you end up wasting time and money. I still have a whole nother business. I have little children. I don't have time to be at a construction site every day, which is what I ended up being, right? But we got it done. It took a whole year. It should not have taken a year to get this done, but I did not get licensed or permitted to open until December 2021. And that was by the skin of my teeth, because it just was so hard to get good contractors. They were in and out. So we were able to do it. We got the permit, and then we started basically operating in 2022.
Okay. What do you think the biggest hurdle during that time, or just giving like an example of something that happened that was like oh my God, I can't believe I'm going through this, contractors either not showing up, stealing money, or I don't know, whatever the situation could have been in that year that was kind of like you thought was going to break the project?
I would say if it wasn't contractors not showing up, I went through at least 4 contractors in a year. And that is a lot when you're trying to get a 15 unit project done. You don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So between that and just things not being in stock, because like I said, everybody is working, everybody's at home doing projects. So I needed windows. Windows were like 4 months out. I needed tile, and you had to pick from like this little amount of tile because I needed so much, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's retiling their floors. So those 2 were huge hurdles for me, and it took a long time. So
What are the key factors you consider when choosing a neighborhood for a group home or transitional housing type of investment?
I mean, there's more and more information coming out publicly as far as group homes and transitional housing. It is my intention at some point to work on an ebook kind of outlining it to help others, because I do get a lot of questions about how I'm doing my model and how did I get there. But it's a lot of common sense, but it's getting those pieces together. So like with any real estate investment that you do, you're going to be looking for a property that makes financial sense. You know what I mean? You don't have, and you have to look at the area as well. That's something else that's important. You don't want to do a group home where your multi-million-dollar houses are, right? You want to be where people are more likely to need affordable housing. So the particular neighborhood that I'm in, it's a lower middle class area. It's a nice area, so it's not a high crime rate, but it's where our lower middle class area, where lower middle class people live. So those are the things you kind of want to look for as far as picking out an area. Where can you best serve people? Where are they likely to go? You want to be near public transportation also, because a lot of times these people don't have cars. And so, a lot of people Uber and Lyft now, but a lot of people still use public transportation. So for us, the bus stop is 2 blocks away from the house, so those are things that you want to consider, the location, where you can best serve people. And when you buy a property, just like anything else, you want to buy what makes financial sense. You don't want to pay more for the property than the ARV, that type of thing. So all those traditional things that we look for when we're looking for a property to buy and invest in would apply here as well.
Why invest in tax deed lots? And how can vacant land be turned into new rental income streams?
The first thing I looked into was tax lien and tax deed investing. And that was around 2017 that I attended my first real estate, course. It was like a 3-day training only on tax liens and tax deeds. And then from there, I just, continued to learn. I was a student of YouTube University. And learned a lot there, and then as well started identifying influential experts, not the gurus, but the gurus in different areas. So part of it was also learning, because there's so many ways to invest in real estate, so many ways. You have to find what works for you. And the only way you're going to understand what works for you is to learn a little bit about the different ways: wholesaling, buy and hold, apartment syndications, all of those different things, tax lien, tax deed investings. There's so many different ways, investing in land. So I just started becoming a student, and I joined a women's group, a real estate investor group called the Real Estate Investor Goddesses. And what I liked about them is that they talked about all of the different areas of real estate investing. So you could really get an understanding of the different areas and kind of pick and choose. Okay, I think I want to learn more about this. I want to learn more about that. And ultimately, my next step was getting involved in syndications. So if you're familiar with syndications, it's where you can be a limited partner and buy an apartment building or a commercial building, and you invest your money. You don't have to worry about the management of it. It's managed by experienced operators, and you get a monthly rate of return. They hold the property for typically 3 to 5 years. And at the end of that period of time, when they sell the building, you get your money back, plus you get a share of the proceeds of the sale. And you also get the tax benefits of owning real estate during that 3 to 5 year period. So that was, to me, amazing. And I participated in 4 of those. I have participated in 4 of those. I was in the strategy phase. Later on, I did invest in 2 tax deed properties in Gary, Indiana, where I invested with a friend of mine. So we still own those properties.
And what are those single families?
They're vacant lots that we're planning on building. So we're going to be building houses on those.
How did you acquire a rental property without needing a new mortgage? And how did setting it up as room rentals help maximize the cash flow?
So the mortgage payment was about $1,000 a month for this property. So the total purchase price was $150,000. So I came up with $90,000, give or take, that was distributed among the 4 siblings. And then I took over the mortgage. From there, I had to rehab the property because it wasn't, like I said, in a bad state of repair. It needed a new roof, needed new septic. It had mold. It had termites, very severe termite damage. And once you start opening up the walls, it's just, it's a mess. So we ended up doing pretty much a full rehab on the property. And just, talking numbers with all of that, I was all in between the purchase price out of pocket and the rehab, about $200,000. Back then in 2020, when I bought the property, the ARV was about $250,000. So still in a good position. So I was still on the right side of it. Once we rehabbed the property, or during the rehab, I was studying about group homes. One of the things about Miami, Florida is that it's not affordable to live here. Sort of like in New York, right? Not affordable to live. And so I started studying about this group home model. It's also called transitional housing, where you offer a fully furnished house and you can offer it to rent it by the bed or by the room. So this particular house was a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath house we set up 2 rooms as private rooms and 2 rooms as shared rooms with 2 beds in it. So a total of 6 people. My desire was to use the property to house young people who were aging out of foster care, because they're given a stipend and they're like, you're 18, go live. And so I did a course on group homes and online self-study where it talked about different ways of marketing the property to find people. And I did all of that marketing, and it really didn't bear any fruit. So I said, I need to get this house filled, these beds filled. So I went the route of marketing the property on like roomies.com, Facebook Marketplace, different avenues that have that advertise rooms for rent. Zillow, I believe I did also, so that I was able to get the beds filled. And so right now that was in 2020 that I purchased the property. We probably got the rehab done in 2021. And since then, we've been pretty much full as far as all the beds being rented. So that's been a blessing for us and a blessing for these young ladies. I have 6 young ladies. They're all in their 20s. They all work. They're all self-pay. And, it's got a community that's been developed there with these young women.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another mashup episode of the Share the Wealth Show. If today's discussions of alternative rental strategies sparked a new idea or concept for you, don't just keep it to yourself. You have to share it with a friend and keep the conversation going. Remember, knowledge is wealth that is meant to be shared, and then you actually also have to execute. Well, I will see you next time.
Did you love this episode of Share the Wealth Show? Be sure to connect with Nicole by following her on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. If you picked up any of the gems that were dropped by today's guest, make sure you not only put them in your bag, but if you know of someone who would benefit from this information, don't keep it to yourself. Share the wealth and make sure to leave us a rating and review. We'll see you for next week's episode. Subscribe so you'll be notified.